In the process of researching the Delamar name, we came across what might be another branch in the genealogical tree. A Delamar family was living today in Atlanta. We had two choices. Since we had no record of Delamar's daughter, we decided to follow up our lead in Georgia.
We have been able to trace our descendants back to around 1692.
Mr. and Mrs. Dean Delamar had compiled a family genealogy, trying to discover if they could prove any relationship to Joseph Raphael Delamar. In 1685, Louis XIV issued an edict expelling the Delamar family, along with other Huguenots or non-Catholic Frenchmen, from France. In the process of fleeing to Holland or England, thousands of Huguenots were slaughtered.
On the premise that the Huguenots either went through London or England and Holland, in that Joseph Raphael was in Holland, it would, I would think, would be a good connection that the Delamars in America before Joseph were related to those in Holland. So I don't think there's any question that we can tie into Joseph Raphael.
To date, this link has not been confirmed. Then, an intriguing fact. Mr. Delamar recalled discovering a silver boomtown in Idaho, which bore the family name, Delamar. He wondered if there was a connection. We knew Captain Delamar had various mining interests. Could the captain have owned the town? We headed west toward the Idaho, Oregon, Colorado borders, where the tiny town of Delamar was located. We arrived in Delamar to find it a ghost town. The old silver mine shaft was in ruins. The main street was only a shadow of what it had been. Most of the buildings, which had been hastily constructed, had fallen into complete disrepair. Their inhabitants, including Delamar, had died or moved elsewhere. Nothing in the decaying ghost town gave us any further knowledge concerning the whereabouts of the captain or his daughter. The traditional records, marriage certificates, land deeds, wills on public file, were not helpful. We wanted to try one more possibility before leaving Idaho. Silver City, a sister town to Delamar, was in the process of being restored. It was possible that someone there would have more knowledge of Captain Delamar. Vivian Gotch is the curator of the Owyhee County Museum. She recalled a story that Delamar left Idaho as the result of a broken romance.
He did not marry until he left here. He married in New York. As I understand it, he did have a love in Silver City, and this might have been part of the reason why he left the area and never came back. But Captain Delamar, as far as I know, just had the one daughter.
Our only choice was to return to New York, where Delamar had perhaps married, and where his daughter had probably been born. One slim lead took us to Long Island. A newspaper article mentioned that in Glen Cove, Captain Delamar had built an estate called Pembroke for his daughter. We went to Robert Coles, the local Glen Cove historian, and asked him about his knowledge of the Delamar family or of Pembroke.
The beginning of the latter half of the 19th century, many people of wealth moved out here from New York and established homes, not homes similar to the early settlers. They were very simple, but they established mansions. And then a little after that, the yachting craze came in.
Mr. Coles remembered a Delamar family had once lived in the area, but did not know if any members still remained. Was it possible that Delamar, a former sea captain, built his mansion facing the sea?
I know that there were wealthy estates here. There was an estate that was known as Pembroke.
Mr. Coles agreed to guide in search of cameras to an area where many old Glen Cove estates had been built. Although our society is referenced and cross-referenced in computerized records, we found no note of Alice Delamar. The only lead we had was Mr. Coles, who knew the area. We had to rely on his memory to break the mystery of the missing heir. We did find an area that had once been called Pembroke. It was ironic that although we were searching for a person, we were reduced to looking for a landmark. When we arrived at the location, we found it overgrown, thick with weeds, poison ivy, and twisting, reedy vines.
Oh, my.
Deep within the overgrown area, we spotted remnants of a structure. It was, according to Mr. Cole's best estimates, Pembroke.
Oh, my.
Apparently, the mansion had been destroyed by fire. Virtually nothing was left. No personal effects, no papers had survived either the fire or the scavengers who surely followed.
Goodness. Never expected to find it.
There was not the tiniest scrap of evidence as to what had happened to the Delamars and where they might have gone. All we knew for sure was that Alice Delamar, the daughter of Joseph Raphael Delamar, once existed. Toward the end of World War I, she devoted a certain amount of her time to Red Cross service. Then, seemingly, she had disappeared from sight. Some say she moved to Paris for a brief period. No one was sure. Where had Alice gone? Was she still alive? If so, was it possible that she didn't know about the certificate in San Francisco? Would Alice Delamar ever claim what was rightfully hers? The affairs of New York high society at the turn of the century were well documented. Life consisted of a series of lavish parties at elaborate Park Avenue residences. The boredom was broken only by predictable trips to Europe. We reasoned that since Alice Delamar had received $10 million upon her father's death, her actions might also have been documented in publications devoted to the life of the wealthy.